There is no substitute for a well-written illustrated log of a cruise or travelogue. I have now done quite a few logs, and the techniques have evolved over the years. It is time-consuming to do, but it can be fun and provides a record that becomes increasingly valuable as you get older. I undertook to produce some articles on this subject, but decided that some matters were best dealt with by video tutorial, hence this series. In this section, we are concentrating on painting the track of our travels on either a marine chart or some kind of map. And in this first exercise, we will look at painting a simple track on a marine chart. For this exercise, I assume that you have access to some kind of marine chart software. In my case, I am using Navigation Planner, which is the PC system that can use Navionics chart data. This finished result shows the track of our 2017 cruise to the Channel Islands. As you can see, there is enough hydrographic information to make it look like a chart, and the inclusion of the pink rectangular area in mid-channel, which is the Merchant Ship Traffic Separation Scheme, includes one of the most important navigational features of the passage. As this was used as the back cover of the printed log, it is cropped to an A4 format. The trouble if you zoom in the chart software to cover this whole area is that all the detail disappears like this. Here is another example produced in PowerPoint from our 2005 trip to Scotland. PowerPoint has some line drawing capability, but in this case I felt that although this diagram was fit for purpose, it was not very appealing. In this case we were using CMAP cartography and I think PC Planner from Raymarine. So, as you can see, there are a variety of styles of presentation using lots of different software, but the same problem exists in all of them. As you show a larger and larger area by zooming out, the detail is lost. So the answer is to capture a series of tiles at a higher resolution, showing much more hydrographic detail, and stitch them together, which is called a panorama. A lot of photo editing programs offer a panorama option that will stitch the images together, but you need one that will do vertical as well as horizontal panoramas. I'm currently using Serif Affinity Photo, but I have used various Photoshop variants, including Photoshop Elements, and there are no doubt other image processors that can be used. If you do not have one of these, then you should skip the next few minutes and go on to painting the track later in this video. For this series of tutorials, I'm using a cruise in New Zealand in 2011 and 12. We were using the Australian Software on Board, or SOB system of cartography based on CMAP cartridges. It is a system I have used for several years, both on Ariadne and True, our two yachts. It has a number of advantages, but the motorboat I'm now using was fitted with Navionics, and I'm now using that most of the time. But for this exercise, the data available is from Software on Board. As we zoom into North Island of New Zealand, more and more detail appears. Eventually, we can see the area covering our intended passage from Auckland to the Bay of Islands, a distance of about 135 miles. It is one of the advantages of SOB that all the track data is recorded, including time, boat speed, wind speed, and many other variables. All I have to do is switch on the recorded track. I have not yet managed to extract the same data from my Navionics system, but I believe it can be done. If you do not have a system that records tracks in a way that can be downloaded to a PC, then you could photograph your chart plotter screen at the end of each trip. The plot does not have to be very accurate for a log, and we will shortly demonstrate how to paint the track. But being able to display actual tracks makes it easier. As a last resort, you may be able to check positions from your deck log and reconstruct the track from that. However you draw the track, you can see that trying to get the whole voyage on one screen can be too cluttered. Not all the track was recorded, which was an operator error, and the color contrast is not very good. As we zoom in more, the chart gets even more cluttered, but some useful data appears. Some, like the local photographs, can be very helpful. The tidal stream information is essential while on passage, but the symbols are just clutter for a published track chart. We can start by turning off the tidal arrows, the spot soundings, and the seabed type. And reluctantly the lighthouse sectors, but they just get in the way. It is still cluttered. Now every chart system has a means of switching off layers. In SOB it is associated with the ship data box. Here I have switched off all except the depth contours and the restricted zones, which will leave important things like traffic separation schemes. Note that all the text has been removed. Experience shows it is always in the wrong place for our purposes, so we will have to add the text we want afterwards. That's getting better. Now we can start to think about creating tiles. Zoom out to see the overall picture. As we proceed northwards from Auckland, the track leans to the west. So we note the furthest point to the east and note where that is at the same latitude as the starting point, roughly half along the way the island indicated. Now, zoom back to the level we want and position the view. Now is the time to maximize the screen size by switching off all the toolbars. Now we have our first tile ready. On the PC, the command is Alt plus print screen to copy the screen image onto your clipboard. Sometimes you'll get a warning message, which is just your security system checking you are not being hacked. The image is now on your clipboard, and we switch to your image processor, Affinity Photo in my case, and select New from Clipboard. There is no need to edit the image, though with other panorama software it may be necessary to crop the bands from top and bottom. Simply select Export, then JPEG, then save in a working directory with a useful name with the suffix A. We no longer need that image in Affinity, so it can be closed without saving. We have created the first tile, so now we switch back to SOB. Now the clever bit. We need to scroll down so that there are common parts between the first tile and the second tile. I noted the peninsula at the top of the image and scrolled down so it was still well on the screen but near the bottom. Now repeat the process. Alt print screen to place the image on the clipboard. Switch to Affinity Photo. Select New from Clipboard. Select Export, then save in the working directory with the same name as Tile 1, but change the suffix to B. The process is repeated throughout the route, so I will fade out and return when a few more cycles have been completed.